Up until this point, we've been learning about deep learning in the context of privacy by building things from scratch. And this is a great way to learn. However, moving forward, we're going to start doing things that are quite complex. And so we're going to want to start using software packages that are a bit more purpose-built for privacy-preserving deep learning. And for that, we're going to look to the OpenMined open source community. This open source community has built a variety of tools that are useful for privacy in the context of deep learning, including tools for federated learning, for differential privacy, for encrypted computation, and more. And in particular, we're going to look at the package called PySyft. So if you scroll down to the bottom, you can click this Start Contributing button, and it will take you to the OpenMined GitHub organization. So you'll see PySyft is here at the top. And this is a library that builds on top of PyTorch and TensorFlow for encrypted, privacy-preserving deep learning. For our exercises, we're going to be looking at the extensions that they've made to PyTorch. Now, the first thing I'd like for you to do is scroll down and install Syft. So you'll see installation should be quite simple. So pip install Syft. And this should download the appropriate dependencies needed for the library as well as the library itself. The next thing that I'd like for you to do is head on over to the Slack. So you can click that button here on the README, or you can come back to the main homepage and click this Chat on Slack button. And if you follow the form to create an account, it will ultimately be led to a portal that looks a lot like this. Slack is, if you haven't used it before, composed of several main components. So first there are channels, which are sort of group chats or group discussions, and then there are direct messages down here. Now when you first get here, what I would like for you to do is go ahead and introduce yourself in the general discussion. You will find that lots of other people who are taking the course, as well as other people who are interested in privacy-preserving deep learning in general, will be present in this community. And as privacy-preserving deep learning is still a bit of a nascent community, it's a good idea to get to know other people who are in the field. Secondly, as we're just now installing PySyft, I'd like for you to head over to Beginner. Beginner is a great place to ask questions if you're having trouble installing things, if you're having trouble with any of the examples, if you think you found a bug in the code or a bug in one of the demos, or if you get stuck on a project. This place is a friendly place to be able to ask questions, no matter how simple or elementary they might be. If you're interested in knowing how PySyft is actually being developed as we go, you can see every new code update and change actually gets pushed into this code channel, so it's a good channel to watch. And of course, in here, as other people introduce themselves and talk about sort of their backgrounds and what they're interested in and why they're interested in privacy-preserving deep learning, you can get to know other people who are also in this channel. Now, development discussion for improving PySyft and sort of seeing how PySyft is changing happens in this sort of hashtag Team PySyft channel, which you can keep track of if you're interested. One more thing of note. In the channel section, you'll see there are actually a lot of local communities for OpenMined. So in particular, people like to gather in various places around the world to have sort of face-to-face meetups. And it's a good idea to go ahead and look and see if your community is listed. And if it's not, feel free to go ahead and create one. And with that, now we're going to get back to actually walking through some new tutorials in privacy-preserving deep learning. So now, what is PySyft? PySyft is an extension of several deep learning libraries with new pieces that make it easier to do privacy-preserving deep learning. So let me show you how to set up PySyft inside of your Jupyter Notebook. So first we're going to import Torch like we normally would. We can create normal Torch tensors and use Torch in the normal way. However, Syft is an extension of Torch. So if we import Syft as sy, the next thing we want to do is create a hook. And what this is going to do is it's going to actually modify PyTorch with new functionality. So I'm actually going to pass in the reference to the Torch library here. And behind the scenes, it actually just modified a bunch of PyTorch's API so that we can do things that we'd like to do with privacy-preserving deep learning. But you'll notice that the pieces of PyTorch that we're familiar with work as advertised. And the next lesson, we're going to start jumping into some of the new functionality that Syft has given us.